Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Yoml. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. Today we're doing reflection 225, and this is part two of three um in the second installment of the book The Ultimate Jim Rohn Library by Jim Rohn. And so I guess we see what Jim Rohn has to teach us today.
Yeah. Well, this is your fault, by the way.
My fault.
Yeah. This is around the time of the whole Your Magical Learning journey where you were like, well, I think we were in a conversation one night, and I was like, if I officially started to allow myself to write multiple reflections on,
Hmm.
for things I learned on different books, and then I mentioned one night why, and I limited myself from doing that for the first like maybe 100 and some books, 120 books or whatever, and then you were, I don't know, we got to talking one night, and you're like, well, if you have more thoughts about some of those, then write those, and I was like, crap. I mean, this is one of those books that's why you're seeing part two and part three, so far away from part one, because I was like, I did have more thoughts about, Jim Rohn's, lessons that I
Hmm.
learned from him, and I wanted to share it with everybody in this journey. So that's why you are seeing this now.
Well, this is the purpose of the Year of Magical Learning. It isn't about the books, it's about the learning.
Right, exactly, yeah. Uh, so this particular lesson is about the rock pile, and for anybody that's read my Amelia and my book, I can't imagine you'll probably have already heard the story because I did touch on it a little bit in the book itself. However, I thought it was worthwhile to carve out its own reflection, just because I don't know, it was an important learning in my life. So there's a story about a man who took a rock pile and in 2 years turned it into a fabulous garden, and people came from everywhere to see it. One day, a man came by and saw the garden and thought it was fabulous, but he wanted to make sure that the gardener didn't take all the credit. He had this deep feeling inside that a lot of people leave God out. So the man toured the garden to have a chance to meet with the gardener. Eventually, he found the gardener, shook his hand, and said, "Mr. Gardener, you and the good Lord have made this beautiful garden." And the gardener immediately understood his message and the point of, why he made sure to say, the good Lord and you together made this garden. And he replied, "That's true. I think that's definitely true. If it's not for the sunshine and the rain and the miracles of the seed and the soil and all the seasons, there would be no garden at all, without a doubt." And then he continued, "But you should have seen this place a couple years ago when God had it all to himself." And that is the story of the rock pile. And when I heard that in this audio book from Jim is known for being a success philosopher on like things like business and motivator around, how to do a lot of that other stuff, right? And really how to break through in your professional career and things like that. I mean, and in your personal life, but it's really more about like success and things like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
And it was actually really this was the very end. Literally, I think it was like the last like 10 or 15 minutes of the whole audio book experience with him, and he was like, he said, I'm not one for God, really, or talking about God. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up a little bit here, in terms of the impact that God plays in your life, and that was the story that he told. And for me, as you've followed along with my story and understood, you've read the book, right? So you understand a little bit of where this reflection is going to come from. But this made me reflect a little bit on my relationship with God myself. And before my daughter, I think it's safe to say that I didn't have a relationship with God. And I don't mean that in like I'm like anti-God or some atheist or some whatever else. Like I just didn't have a relationship with God. Like I went to a Catholic grade school, Catholic high school. I came from a very devout Catholic family. I studied every single day. We had a religion class every day of my life growing up. Like, it's not that I don't know the concepts of religion and the concepts of Jesus and the concepts of God. I know it very, very well. I just didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't know what God was other than this like Wizard of Oz kind of figure, that was like just there, all encompassing God. Like God created it all, and that was it, right? And for most of my life, I have used that as my baseline, and then the rest of it in my opinion, was all on me. It was a one-person show. You know, I was like, God exists. I don't know what God's role is in this world, but like I know that God exists, and the rest of it's all on me to figure out what to do, right? And that was how I approached most of my life, you know, before my daughter. Not most of my life, my whole life. I mean, it was I just didn't have a relationship. And then after Amelia passed away, you know, my 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 mind was just flooded with a lot of questions, a lot of questions, like, you know, changed everything. Like all the stuff that I thought that I knew went right out the window. And I was searching for a lot of answers, and I felt more alone than I've ever felt in my entire life, you know. I mean, not just alone, but literally isolated, because it was the pandemic as well was going on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
not only was I, you know, metaphorically alone and lost, even my own wife and I, you know, we were in our own little worlds, you know. Like, I mean, yeah, we were physically in each other's presence, but like, you know, we were mentally in totally different places at all times, you know. Uh and for me, it was during that time, like, that I started writing to Amelia every single day. And thank God that I did that. Because we've talked about this, like the documenting and the journey and being able to remember the stuff. And now I don't know what I would have done if I didn't do this stuff. But when I think back to the whole rock pile conversation and God, it was around this time. It helped me initially those first few months to work through a lot of those questions, a lot of those thoughts that I was having the whole entire time of, you know, unanswered, figuring out life again, I guess, kind of stuff. And when I finally found my footing again in life, I started to you know, start to focus a little bit on the future again, you know, and focus a little bit on, let my mind wander a little bit about, I don't know, my imagination coming back. But I was still writing at the same time. And then all of a sudden, when I was writing, I realized I wasn't writing alone anymore. Like every single day, when I was finished writing to Amelia, I just kept writing, and I kept writing about topics that had nothing to do with pain and suffering and questioning and all the other stuff. It was just random topics that my mind was, you know, engaged in. And as I was continued to write, I discovered I wasn't doing that alone. You know, yes, I was writing with Amelia, and yes, I was writing to Amelia at the beginning of all this, but then I just kept going, and I was like, I felt like I was talking to somebody out there, and in my own mind, I guess, if you will. But you know, I felt like I was talking to somebody, and lo and behold, surely, slowly but surely over time, I think I figured out what God really is, you know, in my life at least, you know. And God is that person that is always there. If you just have a question you want to ask and you want to explore, he, she, they, them, whatever, doesn't really say much. They just help you to find other questions, and they help you to keep, you know, going down the, you know, whatever road that you wanted to go down. But they're there to listen is really the point. And they're there to help you to explore and help you to navigate this world if you want to have that conversation. And from that, you know, has developed this amazing garden that you and I have been building, you know, for the past couple years, and Clubany, and all the seeds that we've been planting all over the place, and all the stuff that we've been doing, and all this kind of conversations. And it just reminded me of this whole rock pile conversation that I heard on this book from Jim Rohn. You know, it's we don't do this stuff alone. I mean, I know for a fact, you know, I lived my life separate from, you know, from any other entity in this world, you know, before my daughter. I don't anymore. I really do feel very connected at this point in time to to know, and it feels good. It feels reassuring to know that you're not alone, and there's somebody out there to help you. And then the amazing things you guys can do together when you let God have some time in your life every single day, and just sit down and think and talk it out. And really can help build a pretty incredible garden. But it's a team. It's a team. Like it's not God. It's not you. It's both. Like you are God. God is you. And all you need to do to unlock that relationship is just ask some questions and think and reflect. So that was it. That was kind of my thought about the rock pile and the relationship between, you know, God and you, and the symbiotic kind of world that you can build together. And it doesn't have to just be all or one or nothing. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts.
So I guess, you know, the question is, you know, what kind of questions are you asking or was unanswered when you found yourself in the rumble in the rubbles.
Oh, geez, I don't, I, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know that I can even think of these things. It was mainly, you know, why? Like, why did this happen? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
why? Like, why would you do this to a tiny child? Why would you?
So that's the thing is, like I say, a lot of times we don't value the thing that's most valuable until we are at our lowest,
Right.
right? Because when we think about an ordinary life, like versus like a life of adventures and whatever that you imagine that kind of life, versus a life of peace and quiet, quote unquote boring. You have that every single day, and everybody yearns for this thrilling kind of moments in their
Right.
life. But the moment when they get into the lowest, this is when they wish to have, you know, a
Someone.
day where it's quiet, where they can do, you know, do their own thing and be able to, hold a thought. A lot
Right.
of time we can't even hold a thought because of all the
Yeah.
external stimuli that bombards us with things. We can't even have a time
Yeah.
to even think about what we're thinking about.
Hmm.
And to me, that's is what we just talked about right before this. What's anything new, anything good, and that's worth noting. But the problem is that people don't note this kind of thing until they realize that in the moment when it matters the most. This is when they realize that the thrilling wasn't what they're looking for.
Right.
Um, but I think everyone has a personal relationship with God, regardless of how
Yeah.
you see it.
It,
Regardless, even
it's always there. Yeah.
if you don't think about it, uh, it's it's there. And I think the when you say you are God and God is you, it basically we are interconnected in some
Mhm.
way.
It's
And I
it's a
think
team sport.
and the thing is, like I
Yeah.
said, the rock power say, you imagine and when God has all of the all of the stones and the rocks by himself, because the thing is, God can't do anything without you,
Yep.
right? So essentially, you're the driver, and God's in the back seat. He can't drive. He can tell you where to go, but he can't drive himself.
Well, actually, I don't think he can. He, she, they, God. Let's just say God, because I don't know if it's a he. Like, I mean, we can use he if
I
you
think
want, but yeah,
we gone
yeah.
to the mysteries
Mhm.
of the religion. I mean, the thing is, it's people make up so much stuff today that I'm pretty confused as to
It is, yeah.
what these things are, and
Hmm.
people keep saying this and that, and it's a bunch of BS. It's like he, she, they, they, we, whatever. I mean, what to me, it got to be one thing, right?
Sure.
God is God. It's not God is a she, and sometimes God is a he because he can't. No, he can't. He is
Right.
God, and he is God, right? Because you don't know, just admit you don't know. Just don't say that. And I think people, what I kind of like, grinds my gears. People make up things to explain things they don't understand,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they force it on you and say, well, but, you have to accept because
These are the rules. Yeah.
this is unknown, therefore you
Right.
have to accept it. And to me, that's a bunch of BS. So that's why for me is I don't like organized religion. Organized religion isn't religion. Religious. Religious is personally to you and to
Isn't spiritual.
the
Isn't.
spiritual is
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
your soul and the spirit that connects, whatever that spirit, whatever you would call it. And so
Got
it
it.
has nothing to do with religion itself. And so
Right.
that's what I think is a lot of time when people approach the topic of quote unquote God, it goes into religion. To me,
Right.
God could be some
Could be nothing. Right.
some universal being that you connected to,
Right.
part of the commonalities of the way our brainwaves works, basically.
Yeah. Right.
In a way, that could be it. But I say, but it. I can see how we can, I guess, tunnel our energy to this entity that we call God, to be able to accomplish beyond what we can, on obvious level, can accomplish.
Right.
Because a lot of time we I think the thoughts of thoughts is talking to God. Because I
Mhm.
think when we say human has the unique ability to think about thoughts,
Right.
right? So animals have brains and they can have thoughts, but to have thoughts about thoughts, that's is something maybe uniquely human. And I think thoughts about thoughts is about its connection with this entity, regardless of what you call one call. Like I don't like I think a lot of people say, well, it's not God, it's this and that. I don't really care. And to me, it's personal to the person, and however you have the relationship with that person, it is what it is. Because in a way, you think about yourself, right? Think of yourself as a TV, but a TV has an antenna, so the signal has to come from somewhere. It
Right.
can't just, right. So that means that you as a brain, you have this frequency, right? Everything is in frequency. I mean, I don't know if I'm geeking out too much here, but everything is in frequency, right? Everything we have is frequency. The way your body is put together is also in frequency, because the frequency is common. It attracts together. It forms the face, the nose, the head, whatever. It's always frequency. And so your brain is also working frequency, and the frequency is basically picking up the signal from external, and that signal give you this imaginative thought on thoughts, right? So for me, as a TV, when you receive an external stimuli, you can actually process it and turn it into a picture, turn it
Right.
into the channels that, yeah. So imagine yourself as a TV, because you have the brains, and your brain can receive external
Right. Yeah.
signals, and that signal could be weak or strong, depending on how you define
And
it. But
and a signal is just a pile of rocks. Right.
the signal is just a frequency. That frequency, just like a TV, right? It can be tuned to form images and sound. So you think about the external to you, whatever that you do, and when you have thoughts on thought, it actually tune inside of you the process. It processes signal inside of you to turn you into something different. So, for
Right.
example, when you write about God, when you write about things, and you think about
Right. About
how
anything. I mean,
this affects,
anything.
because you are essentially taking the external signal and you processing it, and you turn it into a channel or something to watch, like a picture.
Mhm.
And so I think quite possibly it's there are evidence in terms of in the science field. I mean, science it's not. I mean, science far from being able to explain much of anything. I mean, a science is like a maybe a minuscule versions of our attempt to observe the universe,
Right.
right? Because there are, like, I say we are at 1%. I mean, and to be to
I mean,
be more liberal, to
right.
give
I was
you
gonna say, but
right.
I mean, probably not. I mean, it's probably,
Yeah, maybe,
probably,
we
probably
can't
not
we
even
can't
the.
even we can't even identify all the animals on planet Earth. And we can't even say we can say, hey, we have identified most of the species
I mean,
on planet Earth. So
the
you can't even say, oh, well, I'm gonna go to the moon, I'm going to the galaxies, I'm gonna identify things. See, we probably, like, maybe I take that back. Maybe we point 0.00001%
right.
of being able to observe anything of any substance, you know, correctness.
Right.
Most of the stuff that we have been observed, we have no idea what it is, and
We just stumble
made it
upon
up.
it and try to
We
put a
stumble
story.
on it, and we don't know what it is, and we made it up.
Right.
We say, hey, this is a
Right.
rock, and then it becomes into, well, it's not a rock, it's actually a turtle. You know what I
I,
mean?
I'm the book that I'm reading right now it's in depth, but it's like fascinating. It's called The Rise and the Reign of Mammals, and it's fucking awesome. Like, I mean, it's I mean, like the talk about the knowledge, you know, but like we don't know any. I mean, like really, we don't know anything. We're just guessing a whole lot of things, you know, of where we even come from and what we why how we evolved. And I mean, and this shit has happened over millions and million years, and we're literally just grasping at
We
straws
don't
in the
even know that.
past,
We
you know.
don't
I mean,
even
right?
we don't even
Billions of
know
years,
that.
trillions of years. I mean,
I mean,
quad. I don't
as
even know
far
a
as
number.
I know,
Right.
I can only remember what I ate yesterday. So to
Mhm.
me, like I can't remember like past month, past year.
Right. Right.
Not to mention, hey, oh, we've been here 2,000 years. I don't know. I was told,
Right. Right. Exactly.
right? And so to say we are here for millions of years or billions, years, I don't know. I mean, this is conjectures.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. Nobody knows. Yeah. But I think your point is exactly what I was what I'm my thoughts about God these days. Like it was so confusing for me growing up. Because God always revolved around organized religion. You know, like that was like, you know,
Well,
God was
I know God does not revolve around organized religion.
no,
Organized religion
I no,
uses God
yeah, no,
as
I'm
as as
saying
as a way to organize himself.
yes, no, I'm saying my understanding of God growing up was always around organized religion, and it was confusing for me because it was God didn't exist for me. Like it was religion, and then God was a component of like a subcomponent of religion,
Right,
right?
you
Like
believe in the religion, and inside the religion there is God, not the other way
exactly
around.
right.
So the religion contains God, which is like
Uh,
completely not correct.
my knowledge of God, you know, whatever we want to call that, uh, was disconnected at best because it was like this is a part of something else, and I either have to be fully immersed into
I
that
mean,
to
that's the
to
thing is
experience it
people
or
go to the
not, you know.
church to see
Right.
God. You
That's
see
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying
saying?
is I either
Because
had to be
and people
all
still do.
in. Right.
People
Yeah,
still do. And
and
so
they
this is
probably do. And they probably do. They probably have a really like I mean like what I'm getting at though is like it took me till this this atomic bomb event for me to for the first time in my life talk to myself, you know, like and I don't mean like I never consulted, I never thought through thoughts in my life or anything like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've always been very, you know, contemplative, but I've never spent time just asking
no,
questions about
I don't think you ever think about thoughts.
no, no.
You have thoughts, but you
And
don't
I
think about
processed
the
thoughts thoughts,
thoughts.
but I didn't think about the thoughts. Exactly
You don't
right.
think about that.
Like
You say, hey,
right.
I thought somebody was, uh, you know,
Why did this happen? Like, how can I make this process better or something like that? You know, like those
right.
were my
So
thoughts, you
they
know,
are
like
thoughts, but you
it
don't
was
think about the
problem
thought.
solving.
So why do you think about that? Right?
Hmm.
You don't ask yourself what you think about. You say, hey, this is why did this something happen? Well, you don't ask about why did you think about why it happened. So
Right.
that's the thing is I'm pretty sure that you and I have never done that
I didn't. I mean, I don't like, and
because we
I
have thoughts. We don't have thoughts
right,
about thought, right? But thought about thought, that's to me is tuning to the external signals, right?
right,
Because that is beyond you, beyond your body, able to think of things, right? And so to me, because you understand, hey, there is a TV. There is a TV that's sitting on your counter or whatever. But certainly you plug it into the electricity and you turn the antenna and you tune the frequency, the channels, and
right.
you have pictures, right? That means that where does the signal come from? Do you see it?
I no, I
You
mean,
don't see the signal.
it's even weirder than that as we're talking through this. Like, I saw a picture, and then I used whatever came into my orbit. I wanted to go solve that. I didn't choose what came into my orbit. I didn't interpret anything at all. It came into my orbit, and then I may have had thoughts about what came into my orbit, but like I never asked my own questions ever. Like that's really what it boiled down to was I never asked my own questions ever. It was either presented to me, I was like, oh well, this is your problem. Let me go figure this out, right? Or it was
Right.
like, or I
I
just
mean,
didn't
the thing
care.
is,
Like,
it's the
I never
space
asked my own
between
questions.
stimulus and response. It's a
Right.
power to choose, and we have never used that power.
Right. I had never asked my own questions in my entire life, ever. Like, on a regular basis. And this is where the biggest, like, one of the most profound um transformations, I would say, during this whole journey for me has been the idea of, like, Jesus Christ, like, all you had to do was just stop and talk to yourself for 10 minutes a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even like it was like some mind-blowing, like, 5 minutes a day, 1 minute a day. It doesn't matter. Just stop and fucking talk to yourself, like, and ask a question and check in, make sure that you're either going down the right path, and make sure if that doesn't align, then whatever this signal is will help you to ask another question, and it'll help you to ask another question. It'll help you ask another question. And then all of a sudden you find yourself, thousands of questions down the rabbit hole that I don't know where they came from. That's what I'm calling God. That's the joint relationship. I don't know where they came from, but I know that these questions have been leading me down a path where, I call it following my daughter, right? And, chasing her tracks, and things like that. But that's me. I mean, you can interpret any of this stuff. Anybody can do what we're talking about. All they have to do is fucking go ask a question and talk to themselves once a day. Like, and people were like, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I swear to you, because I've done this now with, my whole team, and with all the people that we did in the core values quest. And when the hardest thing for everybody to do, the hardest thing, what do you think it is when we ask them to do in the quest? What do you think the hardest thing to do is?
To do nothing?
No, not at all. No, that's I mean, people can do that. I'm saying, what do you think the people that struggle with the most out of the stuff that we ask them to do?
It's to think. To me, most people struggles to find who they are and figure out what do they want for themselves.
Agreed, but like, it's the reflective writing. Like, the people are like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know. The reflective writing is just an output of you asking a question to yourself, right? Like, and then just writing your thoughts, right? Like, it has nothing to do with writing. But people don't know how to ask questions to themselves ever.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's very confusing.
It is,
because it may be simple to do, but it's not easy to do.
No, it's not. I mean, it is actually incredibly easy. Just ask any question. Like, I mean, you can start with anything.
It's not. It's not easy. It's not easy.
It really is.
No, it's not easy. I mean, the thing is, you don't understand the thoughts about thought. You will never find it, even though it's under your nose. Only until somebody say, well, this thing is a thought. Then
right.
Eureka, a light bulb shine, in your head. Oh, then it's easy. But without the guidance, without somebody have stumbled on this thing and found this, you could be sitting on it. You could be, chewing on it.
We all
and
are.
You don't even know what it is. You don't realize it. You don't recognize it. So to me, it's hard. And so for people to say, okay, even if you imagine the audience are listening to us right now, we're thinking about thoughts on thought. They're gonna say, "What the fuck are you talking about? What does that mean?" Because you say, "Well, the rock pile." What the hell does that mean? You talking about
asking a question. It means asking a question about what's going on in your life.
It's not just. Oh, you just think about yourself. But the thing is, there are so much background information between a lot of these things that we say, and so over the years of training, we understand. It makes it easy for us, for me, and for you to take a jog down the street. It's easy, but for a newborn baby, it's hard until he practiced it. You have to understand it's not easy, because easy by your standard, because you have done this so many times. So that's the thing, is even though it is so simple doesn't mean easy, because it's not easy to comprehend if there are missing links, missing pieces of information that bridges the understanding.
So here's I'm going to give you the most basic example I can think of, because it's happening today. like in real time as we are meeting on this conversation. I've told you about this new employee that I inherited from another team that is not a cultural fit for anything that we're trying to build with this Club Any Light program. And she's proven it within 2 weeks of me inheriting her as an employee. And like I'm, you know, I'm not gonna mention names or anything like that or whatever, but like I'm adamant that she needs to, and I don't, not because she's a bad person, not because I don't think that she, I started off with belief. I gave her every chance, even within a 2 week period of time, and within that 2 week period of time, she proved, the who she wants to be and how she wants to go forward, and is the exact opposite of what I'm trying to do with her within the first 2 weeks, like at least 4 different times. I mean, I can document it. At a certain point in time, you go, can she change? Of course she can change. Like everybody can change, but like, will she? I don't know. Like I doubt it, and I don't want to really invest my time into doing that. Like she can figure that out on her own time, right? Now, this is where it comes into this conversation. So I'm trying to explain this to other people within my organization, going, I know exactly why we came, why we're here, what I'm trying to build, and I know exactly why she's not a fit for this, and why she needs to not be a part of this organization and at all. I mean, honestly, to be frank, like she just needs to not be a part of the organization for both of us, for herself and for us, or for me and my team and the other people that we work with, because she's not a fit for that world, and that's not going to be. It can't be fun for her either, like, and it's not fun for anybody else, and it's not alignment, right? Now, where I'm going with all this is, like, my head, like, I've been trying to convince many other people that sharing these facts, like, that this should be the outcome, and for whatever weird reason, people are not agreeing with me. And I know that, not weird reason, I know why. This is not being like fully accepted immediately, going, yes, you're right, let's just make a clean break. Like I actually know why, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of all that, but it's irrelevant. My point of what I'm getting at ultimately here is, I've thought a lot about this, right? Like, but I haven't thought a lot about thoughts about this, meaning I haven't stopped back and say, why do I even care? Like, why do I give a shit? Like, I'm still doing what I'm doing, and I'm fine with that. If she's not, if technically she's no longer my problem at this point in time, because I was at least successfully able to pawn this off onto another thing, or onto another entity within the organization, and I can go back to focusing on whatever I want to focus on. But the thing is, what I'm getting at is, like, I could have spent the next month of my life just fixated on trying to solve this problem that was put in front of me, and thought a lot about it, but then never thought about that thought, of going, why should I care? Why does this align to what I want to be in my life? Does this matter to my values? Is this, what is it about this particular situation that is troubling me so much? You know what I mean? That I'm wasting my time, and my precious time, to be able to go, do this stuff. And the reason why I'm giving this example overall is like that is what most majority of people do, is they think that they're thinking about something hard. Yes, and they are. They're thinking about it a lot, and they're trying to problem solve through it a lot, but they're not stopping to think about the thought, and go one step above. And those additional questions are when you find this connective layer that has nothing to do with the stimulus that's being thrown into you in front of your face. This is a higher connective layer that has nothing to do, that is your connective layer, and that is the God connective layer up there, right? When you start to ask the question about what you're asking questions about, right? Or what you're trying to problem solve about. Does that make sense? What I was trying to say?
It makes sense, but like I said, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to you,
right?
But I'm pretty sure this makes sense to people who doesn't have the understanding yet. Because because the thing is, I asked you again, when you first started meditations, what do you think?
It was awful. It was stupid.
Exactly.
It was like,
am I supposed to do this?
Like, yeah. What
am I supposed to think about? What am I supposed to think about? You don't know, even though meditation is the easiest thing.
It is easy. It's just sit there and think.
But it was hard, right? So that's my point. It's easy and it's simple once you understand it. But until you understand it, it's hard, because without somebody guiding you through, say, hey, Chris, meditation is like this. Okay, just do this. Just listen to your thought. Just feel, whatever. Then you, okay. then it's easy. Once you have that, but you by yourself, you would need to go to the mountain and do random experiment until you
Right.
stumble on, oh, this is what I need to do to meditate. You're gonna take you 100 years to do that. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying. It's hard because by yourself, there is very slim chance that you can find it by on your own. So to
So I'm
me, having the thoughts on thoughts needs practice because the thing is,
yeah, I agree. Oh, for
it's
sure.
not about asking why do I feel why why does this person does this, why do I have to take her in, why do I have to, you are thinking in the first person. But if you say I'm going to take it and think in a third person, I am another person outside. I'm a Chris outer ego looking at Chris, seeing Chris, thinking why I have to take this person. That is thoughts about thoughts.
Right.
Thought about thought is another person, a projection that looks at you. You as if you separate
You're like
your
a
soul
referee.
separate
It's
separate
right.
yourself
Yeah.
and look back at your like at your physical body and seeing you struggle and see. I mean, basically that's a thought on thought.
Yeah. It's what are you doing? It's like what are you like? It's a
But that's the
referee
thing is
that's it's
only
a
then when you realize. I mean, why does it matter to you?
it doesn't like I don't care. Like I mean
But
this is
that
what
thing is only when you able to take your soul or outer ego, take it out of yourself, and from that perspective, a third person perspective, looking back at the Chris and his problem and his thought about you know why do I have to, why doesn't she do what I
why can't
told her
other
to do.
people see this? Why doesn't she
Exactly,
why does this
because
what yeah, exactly.
but
I can ask
because
questions about the
your
situation.
perspective as the
Right.
Chris, that's the question, that's a thought you have.
Right.
But as the guy who's outside of Chris, looking at Chris, thinking, why is Chris thinking about that?
Right.
That is what we call the thoughts on thoughts. And so for us to experience that first, then for us to explain it in a way that may bridge the understanding. And then people can say, well, maybe I can do this. And essentially if I can see any eureka moments in terms of, yeah, I feel like what I'm focusing on wasn't important to me. Because
Yeah.
let's say I'm chasing some kind of dream, some kind of goal to become the best, have the longest hair guy or the longest nail
Right.
guy or
Right.
the best drinker or the best smoker or whatever that I'm trying to go. When I have thoughts on that, I said, well, that isn't what I want.
Right.
Right?
I mean,
Oh, somebody say,
honestly,
hey,
we don't want a culture that's for everybody. Like, I mean, we've talked about this. If anything, this is a good thing, and we're both like, well, okay. Like, as long as I don't have to deal with this shit. Like, I mean, and I mean, hell, like if this was my own, if this was Clubany, like I would have said, hey guys, for whatever weird reason, we signed these lifetime contracts. We let her in. That's our fault, but I'm gonna make it clear, like she doesn't want to be involved in anything that we want to be involved in, and please don't include her unless she decides she wants to be included, or something along those lines. Otherwise, we're gonna go proceed forward with the rest of the ecosystem. Fine, she can keep getting a paycheck. I don't care about money. Like this isn't about money. This is about us all going forward in a purpose and mission, and things like that. But I wouldn't have ever got to that point in time unless it was like, really zooming out to go, this is and asking. And anyway, I mean, this example is a more technical, involved example where we could go round and round. There's a ton of different paths you go down. You could do this on a most basic, easy level every single day by just literally asking your own self a question and then asking a question about that question. Like, why? Okay, here's the answer. I heard somebody else's answer. This is what I do every day. Like I read a Daily Stoic or something like that, or my Marianne Williamson, A Year of Miracles, or my 366 Days of Tennis, or my Trusting God Day by Day, or my Japanese death poems, like whatever, I mean, I read one of these every single day and I get somebody else's thought about, and a question from them. And then I go, what are my thoughts about that? And then that's when, God and I have a fun conversation. And then from there, like once we're in that,
well, I think
that
to me,
metaverse,
I think it's still not a thought about your thought. It's a thought about somebody else's thought.
I
That's not
know.
the
I said,
same.
well, I know. I said, and then once I'm in that metaverse, I guess, of thinking a little bit higher, then all of a sudden my own thoughts start to stimulate from that, and then we start to have questions about things that are completely outside of that. I'm just saying that's like my warm up to how do I get there quickly. If you're asking me how do I jump into that world fast,
Right, because I think is in the moment, I think people still need to understand, because right now, there are two different layers that you have to disconnect. The first layer is you believe in God in the traditional sense. You have to let go of that first before you can even understand the next one.
Right.
Right. The next one is the God. We are basically redefining what God is and how He operates.
I don't actually know that we are. I think that's what it's always been. I just think
Well,
that
we were defining based on our belief of how God exists in our lives.
I mean, I agree with that, but I also think that there's plenty of people that do understand this and have defined it that way. It's just that it's we're redefining what not we're not redefining anything. We're defining for ourselves organized religion.
But ultimately, that's what it is. I mean, it doesn't matter what anyone else's thing. It's only matter what you think, or what
exactly,
I think,
yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
it's only any religion, any
God is always
it's
individualistic.
personal. Yeah, it's very
Right,
personable, right? It has nothing to do with church or any kind of organization.
Anyone. It has nothing to do with anybody.
But
Honestly,
that's the thing is people are conditioned to
yes,
follow an organization, not
right,
follow their own belief, because you can't believe it that way. That's how you go to church and you say, I believe God does this. They say, no, that's not how God works. Because
right.
if I tell you, Chris, God made me do these great things, it's all God. And then I go and I say, well, God made me do these awful things. No, you did it, not God. God did the good thing, you did the bad thing. So how do you tell the difference? Because the thing is, it's like you only take whatever fits you. That's organized religion. That's what they say.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
God make all these beautiful things. You sin. Oh, it's your fault. It's not God's fault. He didn't control you.
It's the devil's fault. It's actually not even your fault.
So the thing is, to me, I think organized religion is basically brainwashing people, because to me it doesn't make sense. Either God controls me or He doesn't, or there's some kind of medium between the two. When we say the rock pile,
none of it makes sense
it
necessarily.
doesn't make sense. But the thing is, it's only makes sense if you believe it.
Right. Even if even what we're describing may not make sense, and that's okay. But it's really, I think what we're getting at the core of all this is you and God are a team. Like whatever your
right, because
God is,
what I can tell you, what I know based on some evidence, that there are other signals other than just you.
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
that's what I can tell you with some evidence, because like I say, like a TV has its own thing. It probably can turn its own picture. But when you plug in an antenna and you turn to a certain frequency, that frequency signal is being processed into a different image. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because to me, is inside. We're not self-contained. Like we receive signal from someone else. So whatever that else, you can call it whatever. You can call it God, whatever. But you are receiving external signal, external frequency into your brain from an external. It's not produced by you.
That's just the universe. Like that's the elements.
What I'm saying is that's an evidence that this is something that you can probably.
God helps us to make sense of the universe. Like that's what God does. It helps us to make sense of the universe. Like you could.
I don't really know that. I don't really know that.
No, your own universe. Like your universe. Like not the universe. I'm saying God takes, in my opinion, helps us to.
But you are God and God are you. So.
Right. Well, no, but you're not. You're. It's two different. You're two different entities. You're just a team. Like
I don't know that.
He can't exist, or
I don't know that.
God can't exist without you, and you can't exist without God. Like that's
you are God and God you. I mean, this is why you have the.
But there's two different things. Like there's your thoughts.
Thing?
Your
the thing is, that's what I'm saying
is you.
These things are not so black and white that you can say, well, God and you are two different entity. Well,
I mean, this is a really interesting conversation actually, because
I mean, this is a whole university topic that can be
for sure. I
debated
mean,
for centuries. Okay,
well, it has been debated
but
for
the thing is,
forever,
in
millenniums.
essence, we are redefining what God is to us. Okay,
Right.
to me,
And neither one
God
of us are
is
wrong.
this external stimuli that I don't know. That's not me. That is more than me. Okay, but it's also me in a way. That's how I see it. So I don't know what God, Coco, what God is or what. I'm just saying, hey, there is something that is outside of my own containment of this body. And I can receive signals, and I was able to process these signals, whether it come from the God, or maybe God is the universal brainwaves of everybody on earth. Maybe that could be it. That could be one explanation, but no one knows. But as far as God can do, like, hey, God is, all powerful and he can do anything, then there's some logic that doesn't make sense. Because, for example, I just show you, if everything good in your life, God did it for you, then everything you did bad, God is also responsible. You can't just say, well, God is responsible for good, and then when the moment that something is bad, God wasn't there, so that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah,
So
for sure. I mean, it's
it isn't consistent.
the God the God that we're talking about is always there. Like it, and it's there for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, as long as
I.e., the signal on the
universal.
TV
Right.
is always on. You just
Right.
the TV can be turned off, but the signal does not mean it stopped.
Right.
Right? Because
Right.
constantly, it's always there. But the moment you turn on the TV, you open the TV to receive the signal and process signal. But when you turn off the TV, it stops processing, but the signal still comes.
And that's the sad thing, is a lot of us operate on autopilot all day long. Is kind of the gist of what we're
A
getting
lot
at.
of us just turn off the TV.
We're not even turn not even we don't I don't even know that we even know there's a TV in the room. Like, I mean, like,
No, you are. I'm imagining that you are the TV.
Oh, no, I know,
But you
I
turn
know.
off yourself. You
Right. Your elephant is on autopilot all day long a lot of times. And yes, every once in a while there may be a writer that pops in, but like you're the writer, like, is what I was describing initially about the problem I was talking about with one of the teammates on my team now. Like the third element is something above both of them that's like, hey, like, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, but like you guys can talk through me if you want, and connect yourselves a little bit better if you want to. You want me to give you maybe some questions that or like a different level of understanding as we're talking here, that you guys can connect together. You know what I mean? A little bit more in depth. Like there, I mean, it's like almost like the guy at the bar that's like the quiet dude in the corner or whatever, that just watches everybody all night long, and like you just go over there and you tell him how your night went. He's like, and you just keep talking before you know it, it's like 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever, and you're like, all right, I feel like I understand now, like, and you go home and you feel happy, even though like the whole night long was just total shit show, and your elephant was just doing crazy shit all night long, and then they didn't say, God didn't say anything to you, but you just spent some time sitting down going, what was that night like, like, and talking.
But like I say, I think that there is more to God and how God can help you if you know how to properly align yourself. Because you can say, well, I can talk to myself, all that, and maybe I can stumble on some other thought that I haven't think about yet. And yeah, talking to yourself can uncover some of the hidden things you haven't seen. But to think about your life as a third person, this is phenomenally different, phenomenally more impactful than anything you would imagine. Just like when I asked you, what do you think about when you meditate? In the beginning, you have no idea what you're doing, and you don't know if it's even working. But eventually, you figure it out, and people meditate more and more. I mean, the people that meditate knows what I'm talking about, because once they figured out how to meditate, it is immensely impactful that have changed the way they live.
Well, I would I agree with 1,000% with what you just said. I just would challenge one point of like when you say figure it out. Like I don't know that any of us figure it out. I think that's the point is we figure out that we didn't figure it out. Like you know what I mean. Like it's is that there is no answers, but it's just fun just asking more questions. You know,
Well,
and
when you say figure it out, it's not like it's an answer as a black or white or anything like
that's
that.
what
It's
I meant. Like
always a
it's
progressing scale. You know, you say,
right,
well,
right.
I understand a little bit more. I've seen some evidence to back up some more,
You've
and
you've progressed forward.
eventually, yeah, you're basically progressing more than before.
Right.
So that's what I mean by
That's fair.
figuring out. But figuring out is not because in the wicked world, in the wicked environment, the dynamic world, there's no such thing as 0 and 1.
Yeah. Right.
It
Exactly.
isn't.
Yeah.
It's no
Yeah.
black and white, right?
Right.
It's the gray area, and there could be billions of gray area, gray shades in
Mm-hmm.
between. And so progression is the same thing because at some point, right, you say, well, I believe this way, and there's some evidence that's supporting what I believe, but eventually some evidence may contradicts it. And eventually maybe, let's say I have 10 evidence that supports what I was thinking, and then maybe one evidence that contradicts it. But it's still not enough for me to change my ways until there
Right.
are like 20 evidence that contradicts it and only 11 evidence that supports it. Then that's why I'm changing. It's going to veer to a different path. But that's the thing is the only way we know is as we collect more evidence, more data points, we make decisions on that particular set of data.
And
Because
we
right
talk
now,
about
the only thing you know is this is what I know, right? So you can tell me that, hey, I only know that I am me, and me has able to have thoughts that is beyond this particular vessel
it.
can
Right. I
produce.
actually I actually
Okay.
write about it like I'm a third person, like mediating between my elephant and my writer, you know. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean seriously, like I mean I'm like guys, come on. You like
Yes. That is when you wrote in
right.
that when you were playing the tennis, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. You say, hey guys, you need to stop it because so that essentially is trying to personify this signal,
Right.
personify as God and talking to that person or talking to God. That could be, the quote unquote the God that you're speaking to, and this is you refer to.
Right.
But that is as far as I know.
I agree.
Beyond that, I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
So
I
so
agree.
that belief could be changed, and I'm open to changing it. But I know that this is what I see, and I know that whatever organized religion gives me, it contradicts a lot of stuff that I'm thinking about. Because, like I say, if God is involved in making all the good things in your life, He's also going to be responsible for the bad thing you did.
That was actually the question that got me started on my relationship with God. And actually like I wanna wrap this one up with this thought for me at least, I guess is like a final thought. Going back to the whole rock pile. The oh my gosh, I just lost the thought. Uh what the fuck? It was a really good thought.
It's so good. This is beyond our understanding. It will come
Wow.
back to you if it's
No,
important.
that was insane. I mean, I literally was about ready to say that it was. I already. Wow. I just totally lost. It's gone. I remember what I was gonna say. When was the last the answer to my own question of when was the last question? When was the last what was the last question that you and Guy collaborated on together? And this is when it gets super fun. Is when you have a more beautiful question, right? Because like I talk all the time about clubbing with God, right, and with you as well. Like we ask a lot of questions about this stuff, and we continue to explore. When you have a beautiful question that just captivates you, and you can talk to the to God every night at whatever venue you want to talk to about, with all different kinds of sources that are giving you more inspiration about it. Like that's when it becomes your rock pile. That's when your rock pile that you can see rocks all over the place, right? Like you could walk down anywhere and see rocks everywhere, but then you're like, oh, this rock pile for whatever reason appeals to me, and I'm going to make it into a fucking garden, right? Like that's your beautiful question that you stumble upon, and that's when, you know, like it's not hard at all to talk to God about anything, because I can talk about this stuff with you every single day, and that's like a beautiful question, right? Like you can ask a lot of questions, but then you find that beautiful question, you can talk all day about it, you know.
Right. And so one of the things that it comes to my mind is that, you know, when you talk to God, right? Sometimes you can talk. Some people can talk to God for hours. Some people only talk for like a few seconds.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, you know, what's the difference?
Nothing, as long as you're talking. Like in my opinion.
Well, you can try.
Right, as long as you're trying.
That's what I'm saying is, I think, you know, there is a difference between talking to God, right? And then also, because like to understand how you talk to God is when your mind is able to engage. Because if you can't engage your brain into projecting that third person to reflect and look at yourself as from another third person perspective, you can't hold that thought about thought.
I mean, I
And
agree.
so that means that if you can't engage in that conversation, the conversation with quote unquote God, it's very short.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can hold the thought as that person, hey, you know, look at that guy. He's looking like this. Well, he's thinking about that. You know, he's doing this thing. Well, he shouldn't be doing that or whatever. Then you're able to hold a long conversation, and you can maybe hold it more frequent as well.
What do you think all this is? This is an hour-long conversation that we had, you know? Like, I mean, this is every single day that I write is and I do these things. This is a very detailed exploration of a thought and a question, and we're writing it out and figuring it out together. Like, I mean, this is exactly what the Year of Magical Learning is. Like, I mean, to your exact point, like the longer that I talk, the more that we learn, the more that I can come away with a nugget of like, oh, okay, this is how I can go, you know, help my rider and my elephant connect the dots a little bit together, and we can keep moving, you know. And then you and I talk about it, and we have more in-depth conversation about it even more, and we explore it even further, and we further refine that, I guess. But like at the end of the day, like that is the power of writing to me. That is exactly what the fucking power of writing is because it's an extended conversation with God. It slows it down. It makes you think. It keeps it going, and it like because you could sit there and talk. Like, so I'm sure that people that meditate, like in the traditional sense of, you know, sitting there going on, you know, and whatever, and like their legs crossed and they're in a, you know,
that's not meditation.
No, I know. It is, but it's not. Like, I mean, there, like, I guess what I was trying to say is like that there are people that can do that and
I
can
mean,
have
this
this
is
conversation.
chanting. There's chanting and there's meditations.
All right, you get my point. I'm what I'm trying to say is that they can have this conversation in their head and take a point away and apply it, and they want to move forward. For me, it's right.
But that's what I'm saying is there's a big difference between a person can talk to God and write the whole, you know, I don't know how many words that is, probably 2,000 words.
No, it's not that much. It's probably 800. I mean, I don't think it's that here. I can tell you. What was this one? 225. Oops.
But essentially, that is still much more than people can think about thought on thoughts, because that's what I'm saying is thought on thought is very rare in my experience, because through my life I don't ask the questions, and it's not that often that I am able to consciously
It's 1,000.
go into the thought by, you know, on thoughts,
Well,
right?
and yeah,
Because
it's 8:30.
The problem is that, you know, we always get immersed in our daily life, and the first perspective thought is overwhelming the brain, and the brain just, you know, trying to process all that. And so to even to stop your first thought perspective for a second, it's hard.
Hmm?
You know what I'm saying? So it takes
Yeah.
practice. It takes practice for that to be done. That's what I'm saying is you and I can walk pretty easily, but for a baby who hasn't walked before, it's difficult.
I agree. This is what I said to you like earlier in the conversation. The hardest thing everybody has, that everybody struggles. It's universal. It is across the board universal. This is the hardest thing that I ever ask anybody to do when they go through the quest is spending time thinking and reflecting and writing out their thoughts. Like it's the hardest thing that they do, like by far. Like, I mean, you could say somebody
It's
goes,
not, I mean, it's because they don't have practice. For one, for one, like they don't write the thought because thoughts are thoughts. They're not words. You know what I mean?
right,
We don't think in words. And so it takes another
right, yeah, it's true.
another translator to translate the thoughts into words. That's difficult too if you don't have experience writing. That's why for me is for me to write isn't very. I don't write, but if you ask me a question, like discussing, I can talk to you for hours, whatever it
Right.
is. There's always thought, and I can try to try to best kind of explain what I see in a way that that I think is representations of what I'm thinking. But that's the
Yeah.
thing
So
is when you think about something, doesn't mean that hey, oh, it translates into this, and you can just say it's automatic. It's not like that.
totally. I mean, you and I having a conversation is so different than I and I having a conversation. Like, I and I having a conversation comes up with this thing, right? Like, and now you and I have a conversation, we can talk about it, we can go explore it further. But like, I don't know what true and true, would say about this
Right,
exact same
because
conversation.
you imagine me and you talking to each other, but we also know what the other person's as well. That's when you have this thought on thought.
Exactly. Like, I
But
mean,
it's very confusing because I keep saying thoughts on thought. It's like you sound like a Buddhist.
yeah, the the self and not self or whatever. I mean,
Yes.
like it's. Oh shit, we're not gonna go down that road. All right, we're yeah, like like, but actually, it's kind of funny you say that, because that is what we've joked about, of like living too high in the mountains all the time. Like, to be fair, you cannot have thoughts on thoughts all day long. Like, you got to get down in the valley floor and mix this shit up a bit.
Yes. So I do. I mean, like we say many in many other episodes, is there's always got to be a balance, the right amount for each individual. There's got to be the right amount for that person. But I'm saying is in today's world, the amount on the time spent on thought is near zero.
It's there's I mean, I would challenge. I I would I'd be shocked if you just interviewed 1,000 people on the street and you asked them, how much time do you spend in reflection every single day. I'd be shocked if more than 10 out of 1,000 people that you just randomly sampled on the street, in a city or something like that, said they spent more than spent any time, zero, more than zero, on reflection. Now, the people that do reflect, maybe they spend an hour or something like that, or whatever, or really do meditate or whatever. That may skew like the averages, where it comes out to like 5 minutes of a person or something like that. But my point is like, I bet you money that it's like, what do you think, 10 out of 1,000? I mean, maybe, people in this world. You think it's less than that?
You're probably lucky if you come one. You found one in 1,000. They could probably say they do, but I guarantee you they don't. Like I say, for you, Chris, you have written how many? 355 reflections? That means you talk to God
Three.
355 times at least,
Well, no,
right?
I've done actually way more than that. I'm on day.
That's why I say at least.
I'm
But
on
to
day
but
898,
before
1,120. That's how many days in a row it's been.
right, that's so my point is still the same. You have done that many reflection, quote unquote, thoughts on thoughts.
Right.
Now, let me ask you the same, Chris. Before your atomic bomb, how many of that did you do? You
I hang on.
probably
Hang
can
on. Let me
probably
actually think.
I bet you it's about zero.
I mean, honestly, I have to say zero, because I can't
You're the same guy.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
saying
can't.
you're the same guy. So
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. It takes training. It takes tremendous training.
Right.
And the only reason why you started this journey is because you had to. Okay?
Right.
Your atomic
Yeah, I
bomb
was forced. Yeah.
forces
Yeah.
you
Right.
to do it. That's why I say if you found somebody that is in that 1,000, like that is doing do the reflection, you probably win the lottery.
Man, all right. I got to show you this now. And I know this is what happens when you and I keep talking. All right. So I just wrote this is my reflection from yesterday. And I'm not gonna read the whole thing. It was from this book called The Art of Living. And this is the question I started off with. What's the difference between Elon Musk and a homeless person you see on a street corner begging for a change in 10-degree weather as you stroll by in your car? What do you think the difference is?
Mindset.
Nope. I 1,000% disagree, because think of the how hard it is to get up every single day, to endure, to persist, grit, and humiliate yourself and embarrass yourself and humble yourself to walk out on that street corner every single day and ask for and have to be subjected to that ridicule and that environment, no bathroom, no whatever. I mean, you couldn't pay me like $200 a day to go do that in 10-degree weather standing on a street corner. I mean, you couldn't pay me. And these people do this to try to get money, from somebody else, right? Like, so it's not mindset, because those same intangibles, I guarantee you, are the same intangibles you would describe, some billionaire with grit, determination, persistence, where their adaptability, humility, like, you know what I mean? But
it's still the mindset, regardless of what you say. It's still mindset, because
no.
Okay. Well, you tell me.
It is understanding of the mindset. It is Elon Musk has spent time thinking about what he's trying to actively do, and thoughts about thoughts, to get to where he is, to channeling it into a particular direction. The homeless person is just aimlessly, deploying.
Well, homeless guy has no mindset.
It's not a mindset.
The mindset is still there, but it's a different set of mind, different mindset, different sets of minds, right?
The intangibles are there in both. Like the same ingredients are there in both. Actually, if anything,
the thing is, basically you say, well, I have this, I don't know, something precious, like, this magical crystal ball, right? The intangibles are there, but the one in Elon's pocket is whole. The one in the homeless guy, it's shattered.
Exactly.
It's intangible still there, but it's not the same.
How did it get to be whole?
Because there is, it gets to be whole because there is some other mindset that holds it together, basically glued together. So mindset contains mindset. You understand?
Or God. This is why the reason why I bring this up is because it's a God conversation about thoughts about thoughts.
You're just confusing people when you say God, because, like I said, people are used to the word God as some omnipotent entity somewhere, and like I say, in the realm of what we talk.
Elon has talked to himself.
Is something else.
Elon has talked to himself every single day for a really long time. I could guarantee you that.
So it's all God.
It is. It's his relationship with God, and then he turned that rock pile into the beautiful gardens that we all see.
But he doesn't go to church.
You don't have to go to church to talk to God.
But that's my point. We're defining what God is.
Right. Yeah,
I'm saying is eventually it's a mindset. The mindset means, because the mindset is like, what is it in your mind toolbox that makes the difference? It isn't like, hey, just like, for example, I know how to use Word. I understand the words, right? That doesn't make me a great writer.
Same thing with all the ingredients to be a good chef.
We all have the same ingredients. It's the ensemble, the way it is orchestrated. Same thing with ingredients. You can give me the same steak, the same, salt, ingredients, condiments, whatever. That doesn't mean that I can cook a good steak. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's not just the ingredient. You say the intangibles, right? the know-how, the ratio is also intangible. So I'm saying it's still part of the mindset, meaning the ability for a chef to orchestrate this ratio mixture of an ingredients to, you know, bring out the best of the taste buds. Same thing with the book. There are words. I know all the words, but why can't I produce a book in a pattern that can elicit emotions from people who reads it?
It's funny. It's
So
funny
I
you say
have
that.
the intangible. I have the ability to pen the word. I have the ability to understand each word, but the ensemble of it escapes me. So when
I mean, I
you have a crystal ball, right? It is completely whole because you have the ability, extra mindset to kind of hold it together in a crystal ball. The the homeless guy, he has all the pieces of the glasses, but it's all shattered. It's everywhere. It is not an organized of any patterns or sort of resemblance of anything usable. That's a
I,
different mindset.
I agree. I'm gonna say that one quick challenge to that of it's funny you say the word mindset, meaning it's congealed, it's set, right? Like it is it is what it is.
No, no,
Uh
mindset is not a solidify of any
well, hang on.
intangibles.
So I was gonna say is
It is
let
an
me finish.
ensemble of many things. It's called a set.
I was gonna say it's you should say it's mind exploration, is what it is, because that's what it is.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me because a set is like, hey, I have a tool set, right? It's not, hey, my tool is solidified together. A tool,
But that's what mindset means. Like mindset means like literally a defined
no, the way
one.
that I see mindset is the ability to have so many different type of intangible inside of my box. Inside my box, there's so many tool that I can use, so many mindset, too many uh, uh um like uh, ideal concepts and construct, mind construct.
It's a paradigm. I mean, well, anyway, we can. Well, I don't want to argue about semantics in this, and
So
just for sake of
it's not like
just for sake of
cement
time.
sets into into something solid. That's
But
not what I mean.
that's what I interpret that word to be. But that's okay. We can either way. I think we both agree, in general, of like what the difference is between the two, because the intangibles are there for both. Is kind of what we were both getting at.
No, the some
Yes.
of the
Yeah. Yes.
intangibles
Yes.
are there, but not all of the intangibles. They're not equal because Elon has more intangibles than the homeless guy.
Not intangible. No, like
They're all
the value
intangible.
the values are there,
The
are all
pieces of
there.
glass, the piece of glass that it makes up the crystal ball is there.
That's what I mean.
But
Yeah.
Elon
Yeah.
has another set of tool that able to hold the crystal ball in a spherical shape.
Oh yeah. No. I mean, yeah, I agree.
That's
I
a
meant
different tool.
I
So
meant the
let's say
the
the guy has like, okay, I have all the ingredients, but I haven't put it together, haven't cooked. Just like I say, I have all the words, but doesn't mean I have a book because I have not the ability to put the word together in the right patterns to make
right.
anything, and that's like 1% versus 100%. Because I can look up I can look up the dictionary, right? For the most of the word, I can use it, but I don't know how to put it together. Just like I go to the piano, I can press any keys. I have the ability to press any keys I want. I
Right.
have the intangibles. I have the skills, the muscle.
Mhm.
I can press any keys. But the guy who plays a beautiful song has something I don't. And that's also intangibles.
Yeah. I mean, and probably they talk to God. They got a relationship with God, is what it is. All right. I officially have to go to bed. It is officially late, and I need to, my brain is about my
That's
thoughts.
why we need to have a reflection that is particular to some point because otherwise it's an open discussion.
Right, right. Exactly. Well, that was a fun as hell always. But thank you for joining. And the question we can leave with everybody is what was the last question that you and God collaborated on together? And if it's been a while, then you should probably start now. today, right now.
Like I said,
Yeah.
it's like most people are like, this.
Right. And yeah, and that's yeah. So start now. That's all I can say. All right. Well, thanks for joining, and we will see you all to Monday. Yeah.
Monday. Sounds good. See ya.